Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Getting Through the Holidays 11th day, New Year's Eve or New Year's morning. Happy New Year to those in Europe and New Zealand, in Australia, Asia, wherever you are, Africa. It's not yet New Year's here in the United States where we're located, but we want to welcome you to the show here today. It's going to be a fantastic show. We're going to be talking about how to set our goals right. And I'm sure you get kind of tired of this, but we will add a different approach here. So stay tuned. My name is Jona Bryndis, and next to me is
Hi, Owen. I'm Roger Schwartz. Hi, everybody. Hope
Roger.
everybody's doing well. I want to make a quick comment. I have a lot of fireworks going off in my neighborhood tonight, so I may go on mute whenever I'm not interacting.
That would be a wonderful backdrop. All right, so we'll just enjoy that. Don't worry about it. Um,
Okay.
quick, quick question here to everybody. Can you hear us? All right. Okay. Those of you in Europe, Africa, Australia, New Zealand, how's your New Year going so far? How did you do your transition? And as you know, if you're new to the webinar software here, you can raise your hand and we open up the microphone for you, or you can just type in your comment or your question or your sharing. Either way is fine. Of course, we love when you share into the microphone. It helps others to relate, and it also breaks the ice a bit. Okay, there's anxiety there. All right, interesting. Yeah. There's, at the beginning of each show here in the past 11 days, we've been talking about current collective energies. And every day, has a little bit of a different energy. And the interesting thing is, working with so many people throughout the entire world, there are some things that I notice, that can't be just mine. And so it's really interesting that you say anxiety, other people saying uncertainty. Yes, so that's probably a little bit of the theme for 2017. I called it the year of renewal. Um, Renewal in the sense of really practical or direct shifts happening in our lives. So, and there'll be new things in 2017, and some things will be a bit painful in the transition. Like there are economical things, there are political things that we can see on the horizon that have to be resolved, and we don't know yet where that's going. So for an energetically sensitive person, it's really important not to get caught up in this, not to get caught up in this collective uncertainty, and especially not when there's like waves of anger and fear coming in. So it's really important to acknowledge that there are some energies on the outside that affect us, but that our best protection is to stay within our own heart, to stay within our own congruence. All right. Yesterday, I announced that we were going to talk about etheric protection, etheric defense, and I changed my mind today, of course, because it's New Year's Eve and I kind of forgot about that. So we'll talk about becoming real today. And becoming real is probably, in the larger context of energetic protection, um, the best defense that we can have. So the anxiety that we feel, or the uncertainty, things that can sort of make us feel like we're torn apart or conflicted, or our inner peace, our inner freedom is somehow challenged. It has a lot to do with how congruent, with how real we are within. Okay, so the more torn we are within ourselves, the more incongruent, and that's an energy word, meaning, we believe in one thing, we have a value in one direction, and yet in our practical lives, we're still sort of lagging behind. We're still focusing our energy on things that are really not that beneficial for us. and that are not really true to us. And so that creates, in general, that creates an inner dissonance with us, okay? So everybody knows what a dissonance is, even if you're not an energy worker. So every time you buy something in the store and you thought you liked it at the moment and you come home and you're like, what got in me? Why did I buy this? I don't even know, what this is supposed to be for me. And you start questioning your decision, and you don't really feel it anymore. And that's a cognitive dissonance. That's when we go into like sort of the thinking part of, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right anymore. I don't know, should I go back to the store and change it, or did I do the right choice? And those are mental processes. Emotional incongruence is when we do something that we really don't want to do. Like, say, when a relationship and our partner asks us to do something for him or her, and we're like, okay, yes, dear, and we can agree to doing it, and yet deep down we feel resistance, and we build sort of inner negative sentiments, either towards what it is that we agreed to be doing or towards our partner. And those are emotional dissonances. And in energy work, dissonances are probably the single most important or most leading cause of inner imbalances and energetic blocks. And so today, as we are, getting into the new year and starting to embrace the new energies, one of the big things that we need to ask ourselves here, as we begin our new manifestation process, is, of course, first of all, what are our values, what are our needs, what are our goals, but not so much for the year of 2017. That's just a mental construct, really, if you think about it. But for our life, and how close are we? Where are we in comparison to where we want to be? And when it comes to manifestation, really, the only question that matters is, what can we do right now to get closer to the things that we want to manifest, that the things in life that we want to have, or that we want to be surrounded with. And one of the processes, of course, in analyzing how we are doing, so to speak, in assessing where we're at, is to look at the dissonances in our lives. Where are we doing things, or where are we agreeing to things that we already know that are not conducive for us, that are not really getting us any closer to our goals? So that's a deep question here, because at the end of the day, we're going to have to own up for it. And in energy work, nothing really stays hidden. So this perspective here that we're bringing in through these webinar meetings, through this daily podcast that we're doing here, brings in a deeper level and a deeper reflection. Of course, it's easy to blame our circumstances, to blame our fate, our karma, other people, society, and so forth. To a degree, they do have an effect on us. But isn't it our day-to-day choices and the energy that we have when we make these choices that determines how our life manifests? When I was 18, someone said to me, everything that you energize today, anything that you focus on today, is going to set the energy for tomorrow's manifestations. And to a degree, that really changed my life. What it did to me was that it made me attentive. It made me attentive to all my thoughts and my inner sentiments. How am I feeling about what I'm doing? Am I loving what I'm doing? And am I expressing who I truly am? Am I doing this with love? Or am I doing this because I think I have to, or because it's expected, or um, well, sometimes out of an innocence of never really questioning it because it feels familiar. That's what I want to talk to you about today. And I know that, there isn't really a question that I can ask you, like how you see this for your own life, but maybe someone wants to share. Are there things that you've discovered in your life, sort of as a sudden insight, as a kind of like an aha kind of thing, where you realize, oh shoot, I've been really just wandering on the wrong path for the majority of my life. And now I'm at a place where I want to change this, but I don't know how yet. Who of you feels that way? Yes. Yes, and I feel you. There's lots of comments coming in here, and they're all along the same lines. Just coping rather than living. I'm trying to make my meat ends. Trying to survive. Trying to hang in there. Yes. Interesting. So, from all the things that we've already learned, what do you think that aligns your energy? Or what do you think, what kind of energy you are aligned to when you're just trying to survive? When you're just trying to, well, get by? Where do you think your energy goes with this attitude? And of course, with that, what do you energize? Fear. Yes, that's correct. Fear is bound to survival. And survival, of course, in that ego sense, is mostly linked to our physical survival, to just sort of, well, maintaining or preserving the minimum of what we have, all right, so that it doesn't get any worse. I have to say, though, that for some of us here, there are different or several stages in life where an optimal manifestation of our hopes and dreams has to sort of go on the back burner. For instance, when we have children, when we have very young children. I have a 2-year-old, as many of you know, and teenagers as well. So when we have children, then there are some things, some needs, and some manifestation wishes that we have to compromise with a little bit. And it can feel sometimes like we're just hanging in there. Which is also why there's so much crises when raising children within relationships and within our lives. But this is a sort of a temporary phase in our life, and there's still a lot of things that we can do in that phase, even though we're just sort of just trying to get them through the worst to a degree. No, there's still a lot of things that we can do to prepare. Yes, and there's some things coming in here like, examples of that, like finishing up a university degree, or wanting to start a new profession, or wanting to learn something like how to fish, like, right, Roger?
Yes.
Whatever it is that our heart desires, so there are some things that we know we're going to do this one day. It's just not the right time just yet. And it's okay. It's important that we don't really beat ourselves up for that, because sometimes there is not the right condition for that yet, right? So taking that example, parenting, and sort of how this can conflict sometimes with our career, or with some of our personal goals in life, is that we sort of have to put off things for a certain amount of time, but then it's really, really important to come back to it. To come back to it once like say, mm, mission is accomplished. Okay, so for me, with the kids, it's always been like, okay, there's a magical 3-year-old birthday, and then the 5-year-old birthday when they can dress themselves and feed themselves, and then of course there's the sort of the 12-year-old birthday where they become really independent. So those are like these stages during our parenthood that allow us to gradually come back to our personal goals. So it's important that we don't really beat ourselves up for that. But again, if we forget to come back to our original goals, and that's often a problem, and I'll get to this here in a minute, why that is the case, then we can get caught in this sort of routine of just trying to make it, of just trying to survive our lives. And that's where the problem occurs here from an energetic standpoint. If we get caught in any of these lower vibrational states, as we talked about in the past, all these things are a natural part of our lives. Every emotion is okay. There are no good or bad emotions. But if we get caught in one of these emotional or energetic states, well, then it means we kind of block there, get stuck there. And here it's very important to remind ourselves on our true heart's desire. There are, of course, other examples for why we have to put things on the back burner sometimes. There can be like outer conditions, like say the disease, like a disease, or a family member being in distress, or all kinds of outer situations that can come into our lives that force us to pull back a little bit on the manifestation of our own things. But these outer conditions, even though they may not be conducive for our goal per se, like say a university degree, that doesn't mean we can't work towards it.
It's very important, right, to get out of the or not stay in the feeling that you're stuck and there's no way out. That can take you down quite a ways. So
yeah, and let's talk about this, how to get out of there. Okay, what can we do, even if the outer circumstances force us to make compromises? What can we do to still work towards our goals? There's someone here who would like to share. So, Ade, I got your microphone unmuted. So, hi, Ade.
Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's. You're calling from London.
Yeah.
Ade, you've been a regular sharer here in this show, and it's wonderful. Because you help so many people to break that ice here, and your questions are always welcome.
I've always survived with the kids, just getting to day-to-day life living. But now I'm having this feeling that I have to allow myself to do other things. I just want to understand the allowing on the high energetics level. How do you go allowing?
Yeah, you mean how do you allow yourself to
Yeah,
continue to working on your things?
yeah.
I apologize. I still have this
Without the
cold.
kids being on your mind.
Right. I mean, as a parent, and this is a particular situation, you'll always have the well-being of your kids in your mind. And to a degree, we make this a priority in terms of like making money, to provide a certain lifestyle, to provide certain things, certain freedoms for our children. So to a degree, there's nothing really we can do about that. But allowing ourselves to still fulfill what is needed, or what we feel like we need to do in order to become real, that isn't always contradicting. So what I found out is that oftentimes we feel like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that because of the kids, is that this is often just sort of a mental resistance. There's a lot of things one can do, even without restrictions, like having young children at home or um, having to work for to provide for the livelihood. So the allowing comes from within. The allowing comes from the understanding that the best parent that I can be is the one that sets a role model for being true and congruent. What most people misunderstand is that this sort of grudgingly doing things just so that others can have a good life and to get into this sort of resentful provider type of energy, that's
Yeah.
not good parenting. What are we what are we teaching our children with that? That it's okay to do things that you hate? That it's okay to mm, make other people feel guilty for being born? I'm being very direct here, because I'm a parent myself, so I know exactly the dynamics of that. So how can we allow ourselves to still fulfill our needs and our, say, larger goals in life is by continuing to work on them. And this can be in little things. We may not be able to go to university every day, and we may not be able to live in the place that we want yet, where we can have horses and where we can, like all these ideals that we have. But we can work towards it. We can talk about it with our kids. We can um, uh, help them to tune into their own goals there as well, and to understand that sometimes, as a parent, it's important that we do things that are important or that are needed for us so that we can feel balanced within. And it's not bad parenting if we, like, say, go out and do a training course somewhere, or that we don't have to feel guilty, when we go meet with a friend, because it's good for us, it's good for our heart. So there are some things that we have to observe within ourselves that what are the things that we're not doing and sort of unconsciously make others responsible for? Those are these incongruences, and allowing means to give ourselves that freedom. And of course, in a family, there's always negotiation involved. So we have to talk this through with our spouses, with our kids, and say, okay, look, guys, I'd like to do this, and I know you guys have this. So how can we work this out, depending on the age group? But the bottom line is that if we want to really follow through on being a good parent, then the best role model that we can be is to show our kids that it's important that we need to take care of ourselves first. Otherwise, we're creating an illusion of like being that perfect parent that doesn't even exist, that our kids can never measure up to. Besides, they never learn how to communicate their own boundaries and their own needs.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, Ari, and I'm glad you asked this question, because we often feel like we're bad parents when we do something for ourselves. And
Yeah,
that's
I
anger.
feel that.
Yeah. I think you speaking for all parents here. We all feel that way. But that's something we really got to transcend with our higher understanding. We have to understand that it's not about trying to be a perfect parent, whatever perfect means anyway. If we want to be a good parent, it's about teaching our kids how to become true. So
I
our
agree with you.
job, okay, our job is to basically learn how to shift our energy, and we can teach that to our children by doing it and involving them into it. It's also okay to tell our kids, look, for the last 10 years I've been doing this and this and this, and I thought it was the right thing to do, and I now realize how this is making me sort of negative on the inside, how I have negative inner sentiments about this now, and I'm changing this now. And this may feel like it's, bad for you, but it's not against you. Just because I'm doing something for me, that doesn't make it against you. And here's some other comments that are coming in. Having fun and staying in the present. I think that's a really important thing, especially when it comes to parenting. If you ask children, there's lots of interviews out there and research that is showing exactly that. It's not really that important to our children how much money they have available or how many gadgets. They make it, of course, important sometimes because of the pressure that's coming from the outside, from peers or commercials. But what really matters to our children is us being present. Us being present and being able to connect with them. And we cannot connect with others if we cannot connect with ourselves. And here's the deeper spiritual truth. Our main job as parents, as person, as husband, as wife, as daughter, son, as human, is to focus on our inner connection so that we can indeed connect with others, especially our children or loved ones.
I thought being supportive was going to be connected.
And it is to a degree, of course. It is to a degree when we show support for our kids' ideas, for their talents, for their, like, say, hobbies and so forth. But it's not all. I mean, every parent here that has active kids and is busy, driving them around to sports and blah, 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 knows that, of course, that is a very time-consuming and challenging thing sometimes. And for the kid, oftentimes the kids take this for granted. But what really matters to them is us being there. And when you talk to adults, what they remember from their childhood, they, of course, don't remember the hours that we spent in the car driving them around and waiting for them. No, but they remember these few moments when we were there, during their games or during their performances or whatever, and when we cheered them on. When we were there when they had a bad game or a bad day. Okay, those moments, those are important. So sometimes it's not just about showing support. Sometimes the best support we can show is by also bringing or aligning this with our own needs. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
sometimes, sometimes it's important to say, hey, I can't come to your game today because I have a class in this and this, and this is something I've been really looking forward to. Or I need to take the dog out because the dog hasn't really been running in a week, or whatever, whatever the other needs are. But sometimes it is okay, and we're teaching something very important there, if we do something that is more true to us in this moment. And the kids understand, And sometimes, and those of you who have regular coaching sessions with me know that, sometimes it's important to just say, no, I don't want to do it because I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it is probably the most honest thing we can say to our kids. And that's a language they totally understand. But why aren't you doing it? Because I don't want to. I mean, this feels like a bit childish to say, but if you think about it, the energy of that is very true, it's very real. And some of us need to learn that again, to connect with that part of them that is really honest about what you feel in the moment.
I agree with you. I could do that now because I've done it over 20 years, just going, never miss a match. But now I can, because I want to do things for myself, I feel I need to do it. So it's easier now to do it.
Yes, and of course it gets progressively easier when the kids get older. And not only because they're less dependent, but they also understand this better. But one of the things that happens a lot in families is when kids grow up and say, just to stay within the stereotypical example here, the mom sort of puts all of her needs and all of her wants on a back burner for as long as the kids are home, and then she kind of like tries to break out as soon as the kids are in college or something like that. Is this like sort of experience like who are you? You know, who were you the last 20 years and who are you now, and why are these seemingly two different persons? So the best way to work on our own manifestation and to allow ourselves to continue to working on things, even if there are some outer restrictions, is to be real about it, to be in truth about it, not to pretend. Oh, it's okay. No, it's not. How many of you have heard your mom saying, I'm sick or tired of this? I've done this for you all your life, and what do I get back in return?
I
I
get
mean,
that.
seriously, how many of you have heard this? I have.
Yes.
I mean, and this is not because our moms were bad or anything. That's because how they were raised. Because it was so stereotypical for a mom to put all of her needs away, especially in those families where there were lots of kids. So, but it has not really helped for these women to excel, and often ends up, sort of in bitterness and victimhood and guilt tripping other people around. So many of us have actually been conditioned with a guilt complex that just because we were born, we were responsible for our moms not really being able to be happy, even if this was
Very,
never really said out loud.
very damaging for the children too. I recall feeling that way in my own family a couple times, like I was a burden.
Yeah, and I
But
mean, to a degree, as a mom of three kids, I can say, well, sometimes you guys are. You know?
but yeah,
But I can't make the kids responsible for that. That's not that's not their fault. It's my fault because if I can't balance my needs and of course there's always times, where it's a bit more challenging, but my job as a mom is to balance that and to teach them how to balance that in their lives. There's someone else here who wants to share. Anna, is it okay for you if I just keep your mic open?
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Brian, can you hear us?
Hi, Jona. Hi, Roger. Hi,
hi
Audie.
Brian.
Oh,
Hi,
hey,
Brent.
Brian.
Hello, everyone. This kind of goes back a little bit because I don't have kids to talk about or whatever, but what we're talking about originally about uh, things that you've been putting up with throughout the years, and
Mm-hmm.
you've been kind of just putting up with it and dealing with it and not really doing anything about it.
You mean like compromises in life?
Yeah, yeah. I've seen that a lot in my career in the past 17 years or so. Just a little background. I work in Southern California. I work in the movie and TV industry out here in Hollywood, or Hollyweird as I call it. And um, ever since 911 happened here in the United States around 2000, 2001, I've noticed my job is I primarily freelance from job to job, working on TV shows and movies, and working behind the scenes on the sets as they're being filmed. Um, and the trend I've noticed since 911, there's a lot more law and order shows, a lot more military based shows, a lot more shows around terrorism, things like that. And
Mm.
ever since that trend started, I've always had this. Uh, it's always bothered me that though I don't make a decision as to what program programming happens on TV or what's put in the movie theaters. And I'm certainly not the one producing these projects or anything like that. It bothers me that I'm indirectly supporting it, or I'm working on these projects, helping out and putting out. Now, there's been some projects I've been proud of that I've worked on, but the majority of them, to be honest, I'm not so proud of. And it has been in the light of just hammering out a living, making a living, surviving, paying the bills. And, there are times being a freelance artist, you have the advantage of accepting whatever jobs. But there are times where you can't be that selective. You got to put food on the table, and you have to take whatever. And now I've been fortunate in the past 7.5 years. I've been working with one particular company that caters to the movie industry. They hired me because of my expertise to come in and help reorganize a portion of the company. And so I, kind of rechanneled my energies into helping within that company and staying focused with that and reorganizing the company. And I've helped out with that and been acknowledged for it. And, I've done that company good, but it's still, though it's taken me off the sets and like that, I'm still indirectly contributing to an industry that's promoting all this violence and stuff. And so it bothers me.
That's a very good point you're bringing there. A lot of us, especially energetically sensitive people, increasingly feel an inner dissonance with sort of the integrity of, like, say, our employers or the projects that we do. And, it's not so much the movie industry itself. It's, of course, always a reflection of what people like to buy. After all, it's determined by the consumers, by what we are willing to spend money for. So to a degree, the movie industry, like the entire entertainment industry, is a bit of a reflection of where the consciousness level of the entire populace is going, right? And if that's going down, then of course whatever entertains us is going down along with it. But that doesn't mean that there aren't any companies out there that don't have social integrity, that don't have the willingness to do projects or to do movies in this case.
No, that's very true. I've always tried to, that's why I've always been selective what I work on, but it's still, that's not always, those types of companies are far and few between out here, from my experience.
Yes, and of course, this is still rare. We talked about this in the past. The overall conscious level of humanity for the entire planet is just right around here. It's just right around the truth level. Okay, in the United States and Europe, Japan and Australia is higher. It's right here, between courage and acceptance. But what this means is that we are dealing with an environment, with a general environment that is, if our goals are, based on love and joy and peace and integrity, that are not really meeting our needs. And at the same time, though, there are a lot more companies emerging now, and this is something that I'm actually particularly excited about. The type of people that I get to work with, who are leaders in the economy, who are leaders in social associations and so forth, who have this integrity and who are trying to manifest this into their lives. There are people out there, okay? We cannot really assume that just because the majority is still sort of just based on survival, based on fear, based on anger or specialness, that there aren't other places, other people, other companies, other projects out there. We kind of have to pull them to us. We have to seek them out. We have to align ourselves to that and try to really become congruent there with our choices. So again, a dissonance is a dissonance within us. So if I do something that I really sort of deeply um, disagree with, right? Then that's not good for our energy. And the way we will feel this is that it will most likely be energetically draining. We may actually even come up with physical symptoms, things that are really sort of wearing on our body, emotional distress and so forth, as a result of something that most people don't even contextualize, as a result of working for a project that really, or a company that really is not conducive for our energy. So a big part of our responsibility here, especially for the coming years, as energetically sensitives, as the forerunners really of this global awakening, is to make the conditions happen, is to insist on them and to say to ourselves and sometimes also to our employers or our partners, whatever the circumstances are that are blocking us, say, this isn't working for me and I need other conditions. But this doesn't mean I don't want to be with you or I want to quit. What it means is I need other conditions. I need a work environment that's different. I need more plants in my office. I need a different lighting in my office. I need to work from home. That makes me more efficient. That is better for my energy. So we really need to go in and feel out what are the conditions that we need for our energy to flourish, as opposed to sucking up or suffering from conditions that are really bad for us, that are pulling us into lower vibratory states. And yes, there are some comments here that go into the direction of maybe adjusting, making little changes, adding things to it. Like I've done things in the past to increase the energy of my workplace by just doing things. For instance, I worked overseas for the U.S. military, and that wasn't really something that reflected, the way I feel about things. But what I did, instead of going against it or going into the resistance towards the whole organization and sort of the value that has been expressed with that, I did volunteer jobs with the kids on base. I helped them to change their diets, to feel more present with themselves, and did energy work with kids like this as a volunteer job. And so there are things we can do to raise our energy above the lower vibratory state of our environment. It just takes a little courage to do that. Whether it's like offering some kind of volunteer project like I did, or changing all the pictures in an office, or negotiating new work conditions. There are many things that can be done. So just because there aren't any optimal conditions doesn't mean we can't continue to work on bettering the conditions. So as far as like a manifestation is concerned, if you look at the vibrational scale here, manifestation is located here in these higher vibrational states, especially 9. It's linked to abundance. The best way for us to align to abundance, okay, obviously, abundance requires us to have a heart connection. The heart connection is what allows us to discern what is good for us and what is not, what is conducive, and what creates good conditions, but is also the one that allows us to let go of attachments, of our fear, of our pain, of our anger. So all these things, at this stage, they already need to be transcended, but not in the sense of all having all conditions perfect, but in the sense of like internally transcended. And at this level of abundance, of sort of total free manifestation, all that really matters is the expression of our love. And love not as in the emotion of love, but the love for who we are and what we do. And there's 5 major rules about this. And those of you who read the weekly digest yesterday can read this up. There are 5 things you can do to turn your resolutions into solutions. And my computer's freezing up here right now. I was going to show this article, and there's basically 5 major things. The first thing that you can do when you feel yourself stuck in a situation where you can't really manifest what your true heart's desire is to shift your approach. If you've been trying to do this the same way over and over again, and you got the same results, well, what does that tell you? If you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. So the first thing is to shift the approach, to really have that resolve and the courage to say, okay, whatever it is, I'm going to do things differently now. It doesn't matter what. I may not know how to, but I'm going to have to shift the approach. I'm going to have to look at it differently. And one of these ways of shifting the approach here is in what we talked about here today, is looking at it from a different perspective. The next one is to learn how to bypass our ego. Because the ego is the one that keeps pulling us back in these low vibratory states, in these inner resentments, judgment, doubts that we have, self-worth issues, fear, and so forth. Bypassing our ego is probably, from a spiritual standpoint, the single most important tool that we can learn. This doesn't mean that our ego is gone or that we have to eradicate it. On the contrary, the ego is always going to be part of us. It's an integral part of us. We need it. But we can't let it drive the bus. If we allow our ego to drive the bus, meaning dominate our energy, then we are going to get stuck in survival, because that is what the ego is designed for. So all you guys out there, and I know this sounds like a little bit of harsh to say that, but if you're stuck in survival, that means you're stuck in your ego. And I mean this in a loving way. So learning how to bypass your ego, how do you do that? Well, one of the things that you can do, that everybody can do, that's free, is to go into inner silence. That's why meditation is so popular in spiritual circles, because the only way to really fade out that ego voice in you that keeps overpowering or try to overpower everything is to calm that one down and to raise the volume of your true inner voice. The third thing we can do is to align to a higher power. That has to do with surrender, and that's a higher spiritual concept, which means to really accept that there is a higher power in us that we can trust in, that will provide for us. In fact, this higher power has been prompting us all along, most likely. Many of you I know have already felt that. So aligning to a higher power means to really believe in that. But the important part here with is that we align to the higher power in us, not a higher power outside of us. So as long as we externalize our higher power to things like bank account, fame, what other people think about us, and so forth, we're nullifying that power. It has to come from within us. The fourth thing is to allow flow, to accept that life is a constant evolution. It's a constant adjustment, a constant improvement process. That there are no such states as perfection. Everything is already perfect. It is perfect the way it is, even if it's flawed, because that's exactly where it needs to be. For us to see that there's room for evolvement, that there's room for improvement. And that is what we need to allow. We need to allow improvement. We need to allow the flow so that we can grow. And the last and most important thing here for most of you here, because I know that, I don't know all of you personally, but I know that most of you have been working on this for years and years, and that you have energetic sensitivity and an energetic understanding, is to shift your focus away from what you want in your life to how you can create the right conditions for it. See, if you keep on focusing on what you want, on the content of what you want, to a degree, that just reminds us on what we don't have yet. It aligns our energy to lack, which calibrates right around here, judgment. We keep on getting the message that there's a dissonance. So we want this, we want this, we want this, but then reality is this. And that creates a gap, and that gap creates an energetic dissonance in us, and it pulls us here into the lower vibratory states. What we can do, and this is the big shift here, is we can work on our energy to create the right conditions, and the right conditions, or the optimal conditions for our energy to flourish, to unfold, is here. Abundance, and it's tied to love and the expression of love. Again, not the emotion of love, the resonance of love. Loving who we are, loving what we do, being true to ourselves, being real. And this also happens to be where healing takes place, spontaneous healing. So the manifestation, or creating the optimal conditions for manifestation, is not based on the content, it's based on the context that we create. And the context has to be in higher vibratory states. Like Brian, what you shared, like you can't change the movie industry. The movie industry is just a reflection of where most people are at. But you can make choices. You can have, according to your own virtues and your inner integrity, you can choose to work only for companies that have a higher integrity level than others. That would be creating better conditions. All right? And we don't have to quit our job, but we can negotiate better working conditions for ourselves that are more conducive for our energy. So there are a lot of things that we can do that have nothing to do really with the content, but more with the outer, not just outer, also inner condition. Because from an energetic standpoint, manifestation is based on vibrational matches. So we attract everything into our lives that we basically hold in mind. What we energize is what we manifest. We get, what's the saying? We do well on the things we dwell on. That's what we can change.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Then, of course, we have to be a bit patient, because for outer manifestations to adjust to our inner vibrational shift takes a little bit. But the more practice we have in that, the faster it goes. And those of you who are already familiar with this and who already have experience with that, they will confirm that sometimes this works so fast that it's almost scary. You turn around, you do an inner shift, and shift your attitude to it, something, and bam, you get a phone call or something happens, and everything changes. That is the reality of using energy work, or the insights from energy work for manifestation. Yes, and there's comments here to really become conscious of what you focus on. And again, here we've talked about this in the past a few times. Watch where your energy goes. Really watch where your energy goes. Where when something happens, where does your energy slip into? We talked about triggers yesterday, and pain cycles, addiction cycles. We talked about patterns and so forth. All that is understandable, and and we don't need to beat ourselves up for this. All we really need to do is be aware of it. Okay, then we can't really blame anything anymore on outer circumstances, because quite literally, if we are focused on pain, on fear, on anger, or specialness, then that's all we're going to create. That's what we energize. That's our currency, guys. Our energy is our currency. Why do you think there's such a war out there, or such a battle out there for your energy? Because that's your power. So as for the new year, since we're already running into the end of the show, can't believe how fast that goes. Focus on your energy, guys. That's the most precious thing you have, where it goes. And don't expect yourself to be perfect at all times. Don't expect yourself to always be here. You're not gonna. Nobody is. We have these parts and they're anchored in our nervous system, and we will go angry and we go into fear and we go into pain and all these things into control. That's part of being human. Accept it, but don't let this drive your bus. Let it go. And do what your energy is best at. Align yourself back to higher vibratory states, to things that you know work for you, to things that you know that you need to have better conditions for your unfoldment to take place. That's your power. Okay, it got really quiet here, so so we need to shift this here a little bit. Feeling into the body, for example, the chest and abdomen when feeling triggered. Yes, that's a good tip here for like where does our energy go. But we're already past that now. This is something, of course, we need to practice, and this is what transCODES does. We do these shows, like once a week, twice a week, sometimes talking about these things. That's what energy coaching is for. Just to give you an example, that's what we do within the Sacred Self-Healing Journey and the Hardware Journey. So that's what we do here, helping people to practice these things. All right, but you can also do this by yourself. Sometimes it's just easier to have someone to reflect on it. As for 2017, which I want you guys to all really embrace right now, regardless of the uncertainty that is there. Okay, embrace that. Embrace it as another opportunity for you to create better conditions for your own life. It doesn't matter what the outer circumstances are. And since we forgot, or not forgot, we had to skip it yesterday, to channel the October energies for 2017, we're going to do the channeling together now for October and November. So right now, and this is a practice really also for your own manifestation process, to go into your heart. I want you all to go into your heart, to breathe in your heart. Find your center. Breathe into your center. And release everything that is excess, that is not really needed right now. Excess mental energies, excess emotional energies, fears, thoughts, everything that's coming in right now, just breathe that out, but breathe that out sideways. Okay, we talked about this on this plane. There's an energetic vortex in our heart center, and if we can tune into that, then the embrace of new energies as well as the release of old energies becomes a little more efficient. So as you breathe in, pull in all your excess energies from above your center, from above your heart, your arms, your head, your shoulders, above your head, into your heart, and simultaneously all the excess emotional energy from below your center, your lower torso, your legs, your feet, and from below your feet. Pull that all into your heart as you breathe in, like a huge vacuum cleaner. like a black hole, if you will, because that's kind of like what it looks like. And there it gets converted. And as you breathe out, you release it all into this vortex. Breathing in, holding, and breathing out. That's how you make yourself become present. It's very simple. Breathing in, holding, and breathing out. So now we're a bit more centered and we're a bit more here. In the now. All places are here. All times are now. Okay. Now we tune into next year. And we've already seen a lot of uncertainty things that, of course, they're not fully transcoded yet, translated yet. But they're already there, so we can already pick up on them. But that doesn't mean that it has to be a difficult year. If we feel out, we went through January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and September. We're now in October. What do we feel for October? Just share things. You can say things out loud. And those of you who have the microphones on, or just type it in. What does October feel like to you? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What emotion do you get?
I had images of leaves going down a stream.
Okay, leaves down the stream. That would be, part of the collective perception of October, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. I see predominantly yellow and gold colors. It actually feels like a good time. Okay, there's crying here. Is that crying associated with sadness? Safe came in, safe. Not sure. Okay. I'm asking this on purpose because sometimes the crying, can be many different things. So we have to feel this out a bit. What is the emotion associated with it? Okay, so feeling safe, masculine, like a masculine energy. Masculine. A circle with a V in it in gold. Okay, a circle with a V. I'm drawing this here in gold. These things may have a significance later. That's why it's important to not think about the meaning. Don't try to give anything meaning that you're feeling right now. I'm hearing kids laughing. Okay, I'm seeing sort of political meetings, like a big conference. Something on a geopolitical level. A Scottish thistle. Something on the horizon. Can you specify what you see there on the horizon? Is it something new coming up, or I see a lot of people coming together. This does not feel bad, though. Maybe trying to work out solutions. Shift or hope. Yeah, that's what it feels like to me, too. Yes. Okay, and if we move in the timeline a bit further now into November. So literally picture yourself moving on this timeline, just sort of like fast forward for November. What do you start seeing? What kind of energies does November bring in? I see a lot of reds here. That's typically, anger, fear related. Disappointments. Heart expansion, somebody else is saying, and heart expansion. Chest pain. I'm just reading out loud what you guys are typing here. Coins. Something about coins. November 2017. Something, yes, rushing down a slope. Okay. It feels like to me that there are corrections needed in November. Something didn't work out the way it was planned or the way it was hoped for. So the hope that huh?
I was feeling like, a lot of reflecting is going on.
Yeah, it's like
Reassessing.
like as if so the ideas were good, but it didn't work out, and people had to sort of recapitalize.
Yeah, reassessing going on.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily in a negative way. It creates a little
No,
bit
no,
of
no, not at all. No, I think the feeling I get is more towards, what you learn from wisdom, not so much as
yeah,
survival.
like everybody runs into the other direction from where they were going. Yeah, so like a refocus almost. Yeah, interesting. Chest pain radiating to right shoulder. These things all have a meaning here in energy work. We don't have the time really to analyze this together in within the context of this show, but I will try to summarize. Well, I'm going to do a forecast based on our channelings here anyway, which has interpretations in them, but I'm going to try to summarize this for you guys, not like the end version of it for the public, but for you guys, to teach you to a degree like what you can do with these visions and with these markers, these things, these snippets that come in. And it's also, maybe we should do another webinar in late January where we just talk about perception, higher perception, and how to really build on that. And that's probably a better idea. Yeah, it's very cool. So today, I have to say, the shift that happened here within the audience when we did the breathing was phenomenal. I don't know if you guys could feel that too. There was an instantaneous heart connection there and refocus. Yes, it was really beautiful. That's what I'm talking about, guys. That's what it means to become real, to focus on that. And out of that, in there are answers. In there is guidance. In there are promptings. And to focus on that center instead of all the things that you don't want, all the things that don't want for you, all the things that are in dissonance with you, all the things that create resentments or anger. Focus on the things that create better conditions. And sometimes, experiment a bit. Sometimes you don't know yet what it is that you need for better conditions. That's fine too, but remember, if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. So in that manner, in that spirit, I'm wishing you a very, very happy new year. I'm super grateful for all of you coming. Roger, have to apologize for you. I've been talking nonstop and put you in the house here today.
Oh, that's fine, Jona. I'm rather quiet at times anyway. And you did it was a great information you were covering, so I hope everyone found some benefit in it. And I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to mention quickly, as I have in every show, if anyone needs to talk to get through the holidays, you can contact me at roger@transcodes.com, and we'll connect one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Roger. And thank you, everybody, for coming here. It's been such a wonderful experience. Tomorrow, my software is stuck here. I don't know if some of you guys noticed that, so I can't switch to the last slide. But tomorrow's show will be our last here within the context of the Getting Through the Holidays. And we're going to be talking about energetic protection, energetic defense. And again, I'm not going to go into like fancy energy work techniques, but I want to talk about like a continuation of what we talked about here today. How can we protect? How can we defend some of these things that we are building for us energetically? Okay, so always in the context of becoming real, of manifesting better conditions for our life. All right. So I'm excited about the new year, excited about having you in the show tomorrow, and all the best to you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.